The Golden Big Three had a man down this season, and that was bound to stir things up on the court, leaving Kyrie alone to pick up the slack because Ben is, well, Ben. Let's see what the season looks like for the Brooklyn Nets. Things seem to be going pretty well for these boys. They even appeared to have gotten their spark back after a wild start to the season, and that's exactly when tragedy struck. Just when everything seemed to be going well, Kevin Durant got sidelined due to an ankle problem. The Big Three were broken till Kevin went through the entire recovery process. That meant all the burden was now placed squarely on Kyrie Irving's shoulders.
Irving using the Drummond screen. Irving! The crimson sauce! And the foul!
But not to worry, because these expectations were met by the 7-time All-Star to the T. The most recent example of it being the thrashing of the Utah Jazz. The man seems to believe that he can accomplish even more without his teammates, despite the season-high score count. Should that serve as a warning sign to their next contender? And by that, I obviously mean the Golden State Warriors.
Here is Irving, guarded by Wiggins. Irving 5 to shoot, goes behind the back to Claxton for the flush.
For the team and Stephen Curry, who play against the Nets soon, the All-Stars' newfound attitude may be just a tad frightening. Do you agree? Kyrie Irving is truly a force to be recognized. Besides the first time the Brooklyn Nets faced the Jazz following Durant's injury, they came out as the winning team. And for that, there's no doubt that Kyrie Irving deserves the most praise for the game he played that night.
Good job of finding the open man off rotations.
Big possession here, Irving again! Kyrie!
Just watching him in action on the court, being in his element, that is the best adrenaline hit anyone could ever get. The man turned things up in the fourth quarter after making early baskets. Then, in the fourth quarter, the 30-year-old exploded for 21 points for the second time in a row, finishing strong with a season high of 48 points.
He will pull and hit! Kyrie is here!
It's like I said, he met those expectations like it was no big deal. The man's like, hold my beer while I go win this thing. Apart from all that, apparently, the man has a game plan. The 30-year-old discussed his approach following the victory in light of KD's injury recovery. The man believes he can reach the 50-point mark during this time. Yep, he says he can, and you know what? I, for one, trust the guy.
Obviously, I made a few more shots than I did in the past few games. That makes a difference, but I feel like we just played poised down the stretch and doing the little things throughout the game.
The only catch during this whole scenario is that Stephen Curry may have to guard him for the whole of tonight, which definitely is the best news for the guy. So yeah, a 50-point game is now the goal for the point guard against Stephen Curry. The 2016 NBA champion told the New York Post that scoring 50 points per night would be doable.
Meanwhile, Nets trying to pull out a win in the meantime. Irving, oh yeah! Brooklyn back in front tonight.
Irving also shared a connection he made with his head coach, Jacques Vaughn. According to him, he doesn't think 50 points per night is an unreasonable goal, especially since Coach Jacques has confidence in him to be able to make a play down the stretch. Apparently, they've been able to create a strategy that expands from game to game. So being able to execute in that manner in the fourth quarter gives the guy a lot of confidence.
Nick Claxton makes him pay with a block. It leads to the Irving three. Defensive highlight.
Now, all that sounds well and good, but it's also true that Irving took his time to get into a rhythm, which is understandable, obviously. Notably, he had trouble coming up with his own offense in the first few games without Durant, but the guy made a comeback sure enough. And now he's reportedly laser-focused on the task at hand, which, according to his colleagues, makes him the biggest threat on the court.
Yeah, I mean, every team's going to make a run if we're not making shots. I feel like we got a few great ones that went in and out or just didn't go our way.
So what can fans anticipate from the Nets' All-Star guard? The last two matches serve as evidence that Kyrie Irving is a risk. He's now operating in his gear. Brooklyn's pick-and-roll offense has been successful. The Warriors have largely had defensive issues this season, and that may work in the favor of speedy and shrewd defenders like Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins. But there's no denying that Kyrie's teammates have been outstanding so far as well.
Better look, better shooter.
He has shot it well of late.
That's what happens at the other end.
That's a big turn.
On either side of the floor, Nicholas Claxton in particular is packing quite the heat. That means Stephen Curry and Kyrie Irving might compete in a matchup for the ages. These two final competitors are well versed in each other's strategies as well. And you know, when these two are at their finest, it's always a sizzling little treat because both of them are in it to win it. That doesn't mean Durant's absence hasn't led to some fine learning lessons for the team. Now they know that simply closing the gap won't do. So the question remains, who will replace the roughly 30 points each game that Durant scores every time he's on the court? That was the first problem the Nets had to solve. The Nets have plenty of scorers on the roster, but without their top scorer, finding solution to this particular problem is very important. So the current strategy seems to be getting Joe Harris to start in Durant's place, according to the announcement made by Jacques Vaughn. And then, with 18 points, Harris did for sure aid Kyrie Irving's 24. You know what they say, teamwork makes the dream work. In response, Curry and Royce O'Neal's 11 points each fell ridiculously short. Even TJ Warren's 20 points simply didn't have what it takes to put them over the line. Now, there's no denying that Durant has been there. It would have been a simple cakewalk, and that alone is a testament to exactly how much of a hole Kevin left in the NBA's elite team. Plus, there's that other matter. You simply can't finish talking about the Nets without mentioning how Ben Simmons must start scoring points. Because, let's face it, there have been 0 baskets from that guy. And had things been different, the whole situation might have been funny. But right now, it's just sad. They call themselves the Big Three, right? So if KD is out, the other two must step up, not just Irving. According to a theory, Ben is the solution to the issue of having Durant out of the lineup. But there's just one teeny tiny problem. The guy seems to be increasingly allergic to taking the shot because, you know what? At the end of the day, it's basketball. No matter how important the boards and passes are, the result is in the buckets. So it's simple. The Nets cannot win without Simmons scoring. And if this continues, the Brooklyn Nets will likely find themselves in trouble without Durant. What's the update on that guy anyway? Kevin Durant has been down for a month now due to an MCL sprain in January, and there's finally been an injury update from the power forward. While the 34-year-old won't be participating in the All-Star game in Salt Lake City, according to head coach Jacques Vaughn, they've received a good update on the damaged knee. After his initial evaluation, the player started stepping up his on-court efforts in the last 2 weeks, but he has yet to advance into training now. They're hoping that the 34-year-old would return between his next evaluation and the All-Star break. The coach and Kevin both agree on that being the ideal scenario so far. Now, the first of the Nets' 4 games during that stretch is against Chicago, and that means Kyrie and Ben would have to pick up the slack until then. When asked if Durant will be held out through the break, Vaughn didn't really have a clear answer. The coach declared that won't cross that line, but what he did say was that the days are adding up. Kevin has made progress, but he's not sure if it'll be enough yet. Well, as long as the man's healthy and returns when he's at full strength. Am I right?